Marcus had been my best friend since we were 7 years old, practically brothers through everything life threw at us. His sister Jessica was a year younger than me, and I had always treated her like my own sister. Growing up with traditional religious parents who valued our family reputation above all else, I was raised to be respectful and honorable in everything I did. I never imagined a simple rejection could spiral into a lie that would cost me everything I loved. Before I dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button if you have ever had your trust betrayed by someone you considered family. My life before everything fell apart was pretty much on track. I was in my final year of law school with grades that made my parents proud. They had sacrificed everything to give me this education. My father working extra shifts as a pastor at our local church, my mother volunteering in the community, while also working part-time to help with tuition. They believed in me, and their support had always been the foundation of my confidence. Marcus and I had been inseparable since elementary school. We shared everything, from childhood adventures catching frogs in the creek behind his house to supporting each other through high school breakups and college applications. His family had become my second home, with regular Sunday dinners and holiday celebrations spent together. His parents treated me like another son, and Jessica had always been the little sister who tagged along on our adventures. Dating had never been a priority for me. I had a few relationships throughout college, but nothing serious ever developed. My focus remained on my studies and future career. My parents had always emphasized the importance of establishing myself professionally before settling down, advice I took to heart. They dreamed of me marrying a nice girl from our church community once I had passed the bar exam and secured a position at a respectable law firm. Our community was close-knit, centered around the church where my father served. Everyone knew everyone, which created both a sense of belonging and an intense pressure to maintain appearances. My father, as a spiritual leader, was especially conscious of how our family was perceived. "We represent God to this community," he would often remind me. "Your actions reflect not just on us, but on Him." It was at Jessica's 21st birthday party when things began to change. Marcus had organized a celebration at their parents' home. Nothing wild, just close friends and family enjoying a barbecue in the backyard. As the evening wound down, and most guests had left, Jessica asked if I would help her bring some leftover food to the kitchen. "I have something I need to tell you," she said once we were alone. She seemed nervous, twisting a napkin between her fingers. "I have had feelings for you for a long time, Sebastian. I have been waiting until I was old enough to tell you." The revelation caught me completely off guard. I had always seen Jessica as nothing more than my best friend's little sister, a family member, not someone I could date. I chose my words carefully, not wanting to hurt her. "Jessica, I am flattered, really, but I have always thought of you as a sister. Marcus is like my brother, which makes you family to me. I care about you, but not in that way." Her smile faltered momentarily before she composed herself. "I understand. I just needed to tell you. Can we forget this happened?" Of course, I assured her, relieved that she seemed to be taking the rejection well. "This changes nothing between us." She nodded, but something in her eyes made me uneasy. A coldness I had never seen before. Still, I dismissed it. People handle rejection differently, and I figured she just needed time. Over the next few weeks, I noticed Jessica becoming increasingly distant. At family gatherings, she would barely acknowledge my presence, leaving rooms when I entered. When I mentioned this to Marcus, he shrugged it off. "She will get over it, man. You know how dramatic she can get sometimes. Just give her space." I tried to follow his advice, but I could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. Jessica began posting cryptic messages on social media, vague statements about people thinking they are too good for others, and karma coming for those who hurt others. I never saw my name mentioned directly, but the timing made the target of these comments obvious. During a mutual friend's party, I overheard Jessica speaking to someone in hushed tones. "Sebastian is not who everyone thinks he is," she was saying. "He pretends to be this perfect guy, but trust me, he is not." Later that night, Katie, a longtime friend from church, pulled me aside. "Sebastian, I do not know what happened between you and Jessica, but she has been saying some concerning things about you. She is really angry, and I thought you should know." The warning made my stomach twist into knots. The next day, I decided to confront Jessica directly. I caught her after church, asking if we could talk privately. Is there something wrong, I asked when we stepped outside. It feels like things are strange between us. Her face remained neutral, but her voice had an edge I had never heard before. I do not know what you are talking about. Everything is fine. Katie mentioned you have been saying things about me, Katie. Should mind her own business? She interrupted, a cold smile forming. And so should you. She walked away, leaving me standing there with growing uneasiness. I should have recognized these as warning signs. Instead, I convinced myself that the awkwardness would pass with time. I had no idea that Jessica was methodically laying the groundwork for a lie that would destroy my life. 3 weeks after our confrontation outside the church, my phone rang at 6 in the morning. It was Marcus, his voice tight with anger. What the hell did you do to my sister, Sebastian, half asleep and confused? I sat up in bed. What are you talking about? Jessica is pregnant. She says it is yours. His words hit me like a physical blow. She says you took advantage of her when she was drunk at that party last month. How could you do this, man? What, Marcus, that is insane. I never touched Jessica. You know I would never do something like that. She has text messages, Sebastian, pictures, and a positive pregnancy test. My parents are freaking out. My dad wants to kill you. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what I was hearing. Text messages. That is impossible. I never sent her anything inappropriate. Marcus, you have to believe me. There was a long pause. I want to Sebastian, but the evidence. Just come over. We need to figure this out. When I arrived at their house, the tension was suffocating. Jessica sat on the couch, eyes red from crying, her mother's arm protectively around her shoulders. Marcus's father paced by the window, his face thunderous. Marcus stood in the corner watching me with uncertainty. I did not do this, I said immediately. Whatever Jessica told you, it is not true. Jessica let out a sob. How can you stand there and lie, after everything? Her mother glared at me. We have seen the messages, Sebastian. How could you? We treated you like family. What messages? I demanded. Show me these supposed messages. Marcus reluctantly handed me his phone. There on the screen were text conversations that appeared to be between Jessica and me. Explicit messages discussing a hookup, apologies for taking advantage when she was drunk, promises to make it right. Messages I had never written. These are fake, I said, my voice rising in panic. I never sent these. Someone made these up. Jessica pulled out her phone, showing similar messages from her end. Then she showed photos, manipulated images of us together, at parties some edited to look more intimate than they were, and finally a pregnancy test, with a clear positive result. Why would I make this up? She cried. I trusted you, Sebastian. The evidence looked damning, even though I knew it was fabricated. Marcus stood torn between his sister and his best friend, but I could see him slipping away from me. I need time to prove these are fake, I pleaded. Marcus, you know me. Would I ever do something like this? I thought I knew you, he said quietly. But now I am not sure. I left their house that day with my head spinning. By the end of the week, the story had spread throughout our entire community. People I had known my entire life suddenly crossed the street to avoid me. Church members who had once embraced me now whispered as I passed. My social media accounts filled with hateful messages from strangers and former friends alike. At law school, classmates who had once studied alongside me now kept their distance. One professor pulled me aside after class. I have heard some troubling rumors, Sebastian. Is there anything you want to discuss? They are not true, I insisted. I am being framed. He looked skeptical, but nodded. Just be aware that character matters in our profession. This could affect your future. That warning proved prophetic. A clerkship I had been promised was suddenly no longer available. Study groups found excuses to exclude me. The isolation grew by the day, but nothing prepared me for my parents' reaction. They called me to the house for a family meeting one Sunday after church. I knew from their grim expressions what was coming, but I still hoped they would believe me. My father sat stiffly in his armchair, Bible in hand. My mother perched on the edge of the sofa, unable to meet my eyes. Marcus's parents called us. My father began, his voice hollow. They told us everything. Dad, Mom, whatever they told you is not true. Jessica is lying. I never touched her. My mother finally looked at me, her eyes swimming with tears. Why would she make up something like this? Because I rejected her. She told me she had feelings for me, and I told her I was not interested. This is her revenge. My father's expression hardened. So you admit there was something between you? No, there was nothing. She confessed her feelings. I turned her down gently. That is all. He opened his Bible, turning to a marked page. Proverbs warns us about the temptation of forbidden desire. For the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as gall. Did you fall into temptation, son? I am not lying to you. I swear on everything I believe in, I did not do this. My mother began to sob quietly. My father stood towering over me with disappointment etched in every line of his face. You have brought shame on this family, on my ministry. If what you say is true, then there is only one honorable path forward. You will marry Jessica and provide for your child. The suggestion knocked the wind out of me. Marry her, based on a lie. There is no child, Dad. This is a fabrication. Then prove it, he challenged. Until then, you have a responsibility to make this right. I cannot marry someone over a lie. I will prove my innocence, but I will not confess to something I did not do. My father's face turned to stone. Then you are no longer welcome in this house. If you refuse to take responsibility for your actions, you are no longer my son. My mother gasped, but did not contradict him. Richard, please no Martha. We raised him with values, with faith. If he has strayed this far and refuses to repent, we cannot support him. He turned back to me. You have until tomorrow to collect your things. Your tuition payments stop now. I stood shaking with a mixture of rage and disbelief. You would believe a lie over your own son, without even investigating. The evidence speaks for itself, my father said. When you are ready to admit your sin and make amends, we will discuss your return to this family. As I walked out of my childhood home, my father's final words followed me. You are no longer my son. I moved into the cheapest apartment I could find, a tiny studio with peeling paint and unreliable heating. With my parents cutting off financial support, I had to take emergency student loans to stay in school. I found work at a gas station on weekends and evenings, barely making enough to cover rent and ramen noodles. The isolation was crushing. Friends who had known me for years suddenly believed I was capable of taking advantage of a drunk girl. My best friend's sister, no less. Church members who had watched me grow up now treated me like a pariah. The few acquaintances who did not completely abandon me kept their distance, unsure what to believe. Depression settled over me, like a heavy blanket. I lost weight, missed classes, and nearly failed a crucial exam. The dream of graduating and passing the bar exam seemed to be slipping away. One night, sitting on the floor of my barren apartment, I seriously considered dropping out entirely. Only one person at school stood by me. Professor Harrington, my criminal law instructor, noticed my declining performance and called me into his office. Something is going on with you, he said bluntly. You were one of my best students, and now you are barely passing. Talk to me. I hesitated, then told him everything. To my surprise, he listened without judgment. The legal system is built on the presumption of innocence, he said when I finished. Yet society often condemns without evidence. If what you are telling me is true, you need to fight this methodically, like a lawyer would. His belief in me was the lifeline I needed. With his guidance, I began to document everything, preparing to clear my name. But the lowest point was still to come. 6 weeks after Jessica claimed to be pregnant, I reached rock bottom. Alone in my apartment with another rejection letter from a summer internship in hand, I found myself contemplating whether life was worth continuing. The walls of my tiny apartment seemed to close in around me. The weight of false accusations, lost family, and a potentially ruined future felt unbearable. That night I called the only person who had shown me any kindness, Professor Harrington. He listened as I poured out my despair, then said something that changed everything. The truth has a way of revealing itself. Your job is to stay strong enough to see that day come. His words became my mantra as I pulled myself back from the edge. If I gave up, the lie would win. I decided then that I would fight with everything I had left. 2 months after Jessica claimed to be pregnant, inconsistencies in her story began to emerge. She was still not showing any signs of pregnancy despite claiming to be nearly 12 weeks along. A mutual friend mentioned seeing her at a party drinking alcohol, something a pregnant woman would avoid. Small cracks were appearing in her carefully constructed narrative. More importantly, Marcus was beginning to have doubts. He called me one evening, his voice hesitant. "Sebastian, something does not add up. Jessica has been acting strange." When our mom suggested she see an obstetrician, she freaked out and refused. Hope flickered within me for the first time in months. "Marcus, I swear to you, I never touched your sister. She made this up after I rejected her." There was a long pause. "I want to believe you. We have been friends too long for me to throw that away without being sure." He sighed heavily. "Let me do some digging, okay? Do not contact Jessica. That would only make things worse right now." With renewed determination, I sought professional help. A lawyer friend of Professor Harrington agreed to advise me pro bono. "False accusations are more common than people realize," she told me during our first meeting. "We need evidence, not just your word against hers. Phone records, witnesses, anything that can prove your version of events." We developed a systematic approach. First, we documented the timeline of events, highlighting inconsistencies in Jessica's story. Next, we began discreetly investigating her background. It turned out this was not her first false accusation. 2 years earlier, she had claimed an ex-boyfriend was stalking her, only to recant when he produced evidence, proving he was out of state during the alleged incidents. I obtained my phone records proving I had never sent the messages she claimed to have received. A digital forensics expert confirmed the screenshots Jessica had shown everyone had been created using a text message fabrication app. Marcus, meanwhile, was conducting his own investigation. He discovered the receipt for the pregnancy test in Jessica's trash, dated after she had already made the accusation. He also found witnesses who confirmed Jessica had been completely sober the night she claimed I had taken advantage of her. The most damning evidence came when Marcus found Jessica's diary. Hesitant to invade his sister's privacy but increasingly suspicious, he read entries that detailed her plan to make Sebastian pay for rejecting her. The diary contained drafts of the fake text messages and notes on how to manipulate the photos. Armed with this evidence, Marcus and I confronted Jessica at her apartment. Her roommate, unaware of our plan, let us in. When Jessica emerged from her bedroom and saw us together, her face drained of color. "What is he doing here?" she demanded, pointing at me. Marcus held up her diary. "We know the truth, Jess. All of it." Her expression shifted from shock to defiance. "You went through my things. How dare you? How dare I? You destroyed my best friend's life with a lie. Why, Jessica? Because he turned you down." She tried to grab the diary, but Marcus pulled it away. "Give that back. You had no right." "You ruined Sebastian's life," Marcus said, his voice breaking. "His parents disowned him. He nearly lost everything. He humiliated me." She spat, finally dropping the victim act. Her eyes blazed with a fury that shocked us both. "Everyone always loves perfect Sebastian, the golden boy who can do no wrong. I wanted you to know what it feels like to be rejected, to have everyone turn against you." I stood there, stunned by the hatred in her voice. A rejection was worth destroying my life. I did not think it would go this far. She admitted, her voice quieter, but still defiant. "I just wanted you to suffer a little. Then everyone believed it so quickly, and it felt good to have that power." Marcus had been recording the conversation on his phone. He stopped the recording and looked at his sister with profound disappointment. "You need help, Jessica, and you need to come clean about what you did." "No one will believe you now," she insisted. "It is too late." "We have evidence," I said. "The diary, the recording, the proof the messages were fake. The truth is coming out whether you help or not." Her facade finally crumbled. Collapsing onto the sofa, Jessica began to cry. Not the manipulative tears she had used to sell her lie, but genuine sobs of someone cornered by their own actions. "My life will be over if this comes out," she whispered. "My life has been over for months," I responded. "You did that to me without hesitation." With Jessica's reluctant agreement, we developed a plan for her to publicly recant her accusation. She wrote a statement, admitting the pregnancy claim was false, and that I had never been inappropriate with her. Marcus insisted she seek counseling as part of making amends. The community's reaction was mixed. Some people immediately apologized for believing the lie. Others seemed almost disappointed that the scandal was ending, or suspicious that I had somehow coerced Jessica into changing her story. The church members were divided. Half embraced the concept of forgiveness, while others continued to treat me with lingering suspicion. At law school, my reputation slowly began to recover. Professor Harrington made a point of publicly mentioning my exemplary character during class. The clerkship opportunities did not immediately return, but at least people stopped avoiding me in the hallways. Former friends reached out tentatively at first. Some offered sincere apologies, others acted as if nothing had happened. I was selective about who I allowed back into my life, having learned the hard way how quickly people could turn against me. Through it all, Marcus remained steadfast. "I should have believed you from the start," he said repeatedly. "I am so sorry, man." "You chose your sister," I told him. "I understand that. What matters is that you fought for the truth when you suspected something was wrong." The hardest part was yet to come. Facing my parents after they learned the truth. My father and mother heard about Jessica's confession through church gossip, before I could tell them myself. They showed up at my apartment, unannounced one Sunday afternoon, standing awkwardly at my door. "May we come in?" My father asked, his voice lacking its usual authority. My tiny studio barely had room for the three of us. We sat in uncomfortable silence for several moments before my mother spoke. "We heard what happened. That she lied." I nodded. "Yes." Jessica admitted everything. Marcus has a recording of her confession. My father cleared his throat. "Son, we owe you an apology. We should have believed you." The words I had longed to hear for months now rang hollow. I had imagined this moment differently, feeling vindicated, perhaps even triumphant. Instead, I felt a profound sadness. These people who should have been my strongest defenders had abandoned me when I needed them most. "You chose your reputation over me," I said quietly. "You were more concerned about what the church would think than whether your son was telling the truth." My mother began to cry. "We made a terrible mistake, Sebastian. Can you ever forgive us?" My father reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "You told me I was no longer your son. You cut me off completely. Do you know what these months have been like? Working night shifts to pay rent while trying to stay in school? Losing everyone I thought cared about me? We want to make it right," my father insisted. "We can help with tuition again, get you back into our home. I am not moving back," I interrupted. "And I have arranged my own loans." I have learned I cannot depend on conditional support. The hurt in their eyes was genuine, but so was mine. My father, always the spiritual authority, seemed at a loss. "What can we do?" he asked finally. "How do we fix this?" "I do not know if it can be fixed," I admitted. "But if you want a relationship with me going forward, it has to be on new terms. No more conditional love. No more putting the church's opinion above your own son." We talked for hours that day, setting boundaries and expectations. I made it clear that rebuilding trust would take time. They promised to respect my independence while supporting me emotionally. It was an uncomfortable conversation, but necessary. Despite everything, I graduated from law school that spring. Professor Harrington had become a mentor, helping me secure a position at a small but respected firm specializing in wrongful accusations and defamation cases. My experience had given me a passion for helping others facing false allegations. Slowly, I built a new social circle. People who knew my story and still chose to be in my life. I found genuine friends who valued truth and loyalty above gossip and appearances. Marcus remained my closest friend, our bond, strengthened through adversity. Therapy helped me process the betrayal and abandonment. The hardest lesson was learning to trust again, after having my whole community turn against me. Even harder was finding a way to move forward without bitterness consuming me. My relationship with my parents improved gradually. We established a new dynamic based on mutual respect rather than authority and obedience. My father, humbled by his mistake, became more compassionate in his ministry. My mother became my strongest advocate, defending me fiercely to anyone who mentioned the old rumors. Jessica eventually moved to another state. Before she left, she offered a more sincere apology. I never thought about how much damage my lie would cause, she admitted. I was only thinking about my hurt feelings. I will regret what I did to you for the rest of my life. I did not tell her I forgave her. That would have been dishonest. Instead, I thanked her for finally telling the truth and wished her well in therapy. Some wounds take longer to heal than others. The experience changed me profoundly. I learned that sometimes the people who should believe in you most are the first to doubt you. I discovered that reputation, while important, should never outweigh truth and justice. Most importantly, I realized that my worth was not determined by what others thought of me, but by my own integrity. 3 years later, I have built a successful practice helping others who face false accusations. Every case reminds me of my own journey and strengthens my commitment to justice. The pain never completely disappears, but it has shaped me into a more empathetic person and a more dedicated advocate. I often think about how conditional love can be, how quickly support can vanish when reputation is at stake. It taught me to value those rare individuals who stand by you when everyone else walks away. And it showed me that forgiveness is not about absolving others of responsibility, but about freeing yourself from the prison of resentment. What would you do if the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally turned their backs based on a lie? How would you rebuild your life after losing everything? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear that the truth eventually comes to light, even in the darkest times. Thank you for listening. And remember, your worth is not defined by the lies others tell about you, but by the truth you hold within.